I never thought much about hair until Dylan moved in. It's such a stupid thing to fixate on, but here I am, 3 months later, and I can still remember the exact moment he first mentioned it. We were unpacking boxes in our tiny apartment near campus, sweating through our shirts in the late August heat, when he just casually said, "You have really nice hair, Mason. Do you do anything special with it?" I'd touched the back of my neck self-consciously, feeling the length that had grown out over summer, and mumbled something about needing a haircut. He'd smiled at me then, this warm, genuine smile that made his grey eyes crinkle at the corners, and said, "Don't cut it. It suits you long." That was the beginning, I think. The beginning of noticing things I shouldn't notice about my roommate. The way he always smelled like cedar and something citrusy. How he'd walk around our apartment in the morning with wet hair, drops of water sliding down his neck. The sound of his laugh when he was on the phone with his sister. I told myself it was normal. We lived together. Of course, I'd noticed things about him. That's what happens when you share a 400 square foot space with someone. You become intimately familiar with their habits and quirks and the way they take their coffee, which for Dylan was black with just a tiny bit of honey stirred in. I'd had crushes on guys before. Quiet, distant crushes on classmates or friends of friends, the kind where you keep everything locked tight inside your chest and never let anyone see. But this felt different. This felt dangerous because Dylan wasn't some distant figure I could admire from afar. He was there every morning when I woke up and every night before I went to sleep. He was making eggs in our kitchen and doing his laundry, mixed in with mine, and falling asleep on our second-hand couch, with his head tilted back and his mouth slightly open. He was everywhere, and I was drowning in the constant awareness of him. October came, and the weather turned cold. I'd started growing my hair out, partly because I was lazy about making haircut appointments, and partly because of what Dylan had said. It fell past my shoulders now, and I usually kept it in a messy bun or ponytail. One Thursday evening, I was sitting on the floor in our living room, working on an essay for my American literature class. My laptop was balanced on the coffee table, and I was hunched over it, my hair falling forward into my face. I kept pushing it back, getting more and more frustrated as it slipped out of the elastic band I'd used. Dylan was on the couch behind me, supposedly reading for his psychology class, but I could feel his attention on me. I'd gotten good at sensing when he was watching me, this prickly awareness that spread across my shoulders and down my spine. "You okay down there?" he asked, and his voice was closer than I expected. I glanced back and found him leaning forward, his elbows on his knees, looking down at me with this amused expression. "My hair's being annoying," I said, which was maybe the dumbest complaint ever. But it was true. "It keeps falling in my face, and I can't see what I'm typing." "Come here," Dylan said, and he patted the space on the floor between his legs. "Sit up here." My heart did this weird stutter step thing in my chest. "What?" "Let me braid it for you. I used to do my sister's hair all the time when we were kids. I'm pretty good at it." I should have said no. I should have made some excuse about needing to stretch my legs or take a break or literally anything else. But instead I found myself shifting backward, settling on the floor between his knees, my back to the couch. He moved down from the couch to sit directly behind me on the floor, his legs on either side of me. And suddenly, he was so close. I could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "Let me just," he said softly, and his fingers touched my hair, gently pulling out the elastic band I'd been using. His fingertips brushed against my scalp, and I had to suppress a shiver. "You've got a lot of hair. This might take a minute." "That's okay," I managed to say, and I was grateful my voice came out relatively normal. "Thanks for doing this. He started combing his fingers through my hair, working out the tangles with a gentleness that made my throat tight. I tried to focus on my laptop screen, on the essay I was supposed to be writing about Whitman's use of nature imagery. But all I could think about was Dylan's hands in my hair, and the way his breath ghosted across the back of my neck every time he leaned in to see what he was doing. "Your hair's really soft," he said. And there was something in his voice I couldn't quite identify, something quiet and almost wondering. "Do you use conditioner?" "Yeah," I said. "The blue bottle in the shower." "I should try it. Mine always feels like straw." He gathered my hair into sections, his fingers moving with surprising skill. I could feel the gentle tug as he started to braid, the slight pull against my scalp that was somehow both soothing and electrifying. "Is this too tight?" "No, it's perfect." My hands were shaking slightly, so I clasped them together in my lap. This was torture. Beautiful, exquisite torture. Every brush of his fingers sent sparks down my spine. Every exhale I felt against my skin made me hyper-aware of every inch of space between us, which wasn't much. If I leaned back just slightly, I'd be pressed against his chest. The thought made heat flood through me. "So what are you writing about?" Dylan asked, and I could hear the smile in his voice. He'd moved even closer, and now I could feel the solid presence of his chest just barely touching my back. "You've been staring at that screen for like 20 minutes. "Whitman," I said. "Leaves of Grass. I'm supposed to analyze his use of natural imagery as a metaphor for human connection and spirituality." "Heavy stuff." His fingers worked steadily, separating strands and weaving them together. "What's your thesis?" I tried to remember what I'd been planning to argue, but my brain felt fuzzy and unfocused. Something about how he uses nature to break down the barriers between individual selves, how grass becomes this symbol of universal connection because it grows everywhere, touches everything, connects all of us. "I like that," Dylan said quietly. "The idea that we're all connected by something simple and natural, something that's just always been there beneath our feet." He was quiet for a moment, his fingers still moving through my hair. And then he added, "Do you believe that? That we're all connected somehow?" The question felt weighted with something more than casual curiosity. I swallowed hard. "I don't know. Maybe. Sometimes I feel really connected to certain people and completely disconnected from others. Like there are some people you just understand on this deeper level without having to try." "Yeah," he said, and his voice was so soft I almost didn't hear it. "Yeah. I know what you mean." We fell into silence after that. The only sounds were the quiet clicking of my keyboard as I pretended to type, the rustle of Dylan's movements behind me, and the distant noise of traffic from the street below. His fingers kept working, patient and methodical, and I found myself relaxing despite the nervous energy humming under my skin. There was something meditative about it, the repetitive motion, the gentle touch, the intimacy of the moment. "Mason," Dylan said after a while, and something in the way he said my name made my breath catch. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure," I said, even though I wasn't sure at all. My heart was pounding so hard I was certain he could hear it. "Are you seeing anyone?" His hands had stilled in my hair, the braid apparently finished, but he hadn't let go. His fingers were still threaded through the end of it, holding on like he was afraid to release it. "No," I said. My mouth had gone dry. "Why?" "Just wondering." He secured the braid with an elastic band, his movements slow and deliberate. But he didn't pull away. Instead, he shifted closer, and now his chest was fully pressed against my back. I could feel his heartbeat, quick and strong, matching the frantic rhythm of my own. I never see you go on dates or talk about anyone. I could say the same about you. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Maybe we're both too picky, he said, and there was something playful in his tone, but also something serious, something that felt like it mattered. Or maybe we're just not looking in the right places. I didn't know what to say to that. The air between us felt charged, heavy with unspoken things. I was acutely aware of every point of contact between us. His knees bracketing my hips, his chest against my back, his breath on my neck. One of his hands had come to rest on my shoulder, his thumb absently stroking back and forth across my collarbone, and I didn't think he even realized he was doing it. "Your hair looks good," he said finally, breaking the tension. "Want to see?" He pulled out his phone and angled it so I could see my reflection in the black screen. The braid was perfect. A neat French braid that started at the crown of my head and wove all the way down. It must have taken him 15 minutes at least, maybe longer. "It's really good," I said. "Thank you." "Any time," Dylan said, and he still hadn't moved away. His hand was still on my shoulder, warm and solid and right there. "I mean it. Whenever you want me to do your hair, just ask." I should have pulled away then. Should have made some joke to lighten the mood and gone back to my essay. But instead I let myself lean back into him. Just slightly. Just enough to feel the solid warmth of him surrounding me. He made a soft sound, almost like a sigh, and his arm came around my shoulders, pulling me closer. We sat like that for a long moment, not speaking, barely breathing, and I felt something shift between us. Something fundamental and irreversible. "I should finish this essay," I said eventually, even though it was the last thing I wanted to do. "Right. Yeah." Dylan's arm loosened, and he pulled back, the cool air rushing in where his warmth had been. I should get back to my reading too. But neither of us moved. We stayed there on the floor, him behind me and me in front of him. And when I finally forced myself to look back at my laptop, I could still feel his eyes on me. Could still feel the ghost of his touch in my hair and on my shoulder. That night I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling of my small bedroom, and admitted to myself what I'd been trying to deny for months. I was falling for Dylan. Maybe I'd already fallen. And the terrifying, exhilarating thing was that I thought maybe, just maybe, he might be falling too. The next few weeks were a study in tension and possibility. Dylan braided my hair 3 more times, each instance feeling more intimate than the last. Once, while we were watching a movie, his fingers working through my hair while some action sequence played out on screen, neither of us really paying attention to the plot. Once on a Sunday morning when I was hungover from a party the night before, his touch gentle and soothing, as I leaned against him and tried not to feel nauseous. And once late at night, when we were both supposed to be studying for midterms, but instead ended up talking about everything and nothing. His hands in my hair while I told him about my family, and he told me about his. Each time, we got a little closer. Each time, the touches lingered a little longer. Each time I was more certain that this thing between us was real and mutual and terrifying. It was late November when things finally came to a head. We'd both finished our midterms and were celebrating with cheap beer and cheaper pizza, sprawled out on our living room floor because our couch was currently covered in clean laundry neither of us had bothered to fold. Dylan was on his 3rd beer, and I was on my 2nd. And we were both pleasantly buzzed, the kind of relaxed and loose that makes everything feel possible. "Come here," Dylan said, exactly like he'd said that first time, and I didn't hesitate. I moved to sit in front of him, settling between his legs like it was the most natural thing in the world. Maybe it was by now. Maybe we'd created this routine. this intimacy, without even meaning to. His hands found my hair, which I'd left down today, and he started running his fingers through it slowly, not braiding, just touching. "I love your hair," he said, and his voice was rough, made deeper by beer and something else. "I love doing this. I love when you do it," I admitted. The beer had made me brave. Or maybe I was just tired of hiding. "It feels good. You feel good." His hands stilled. I felt him take a deep breath, felt his chest expand against my back. "Mason," he said, "I need to tell you something." My heart was racing again, but this time it wasn't just nerves. It was anticipation. Hope. "Okay." "I think about you all the time." The words came out in a rush, like he'd been holding them back for too long. "I think about you when I wake up, and when I go to sleep, and pretty much every moment in between. I think about touching you like this, and about touching you in other ways. I think about what it would be like to kiss you, to really be with you. And I know that's probably weird because we're roommates and friends and I don't want to make things complicated, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way." I turned around, shifting so I was facing him, on my knees between his legs. His eyes were wide, vulnerable. His hands still raised like he didn't know what to do with them, now that they weren't in my hair. "You're not making things complicated," I said. "Or maybe you are, but I don't care because I feel the same way." I felt the same way for months. "Really?" He looked almost disbelieving, like he couldn't quite trust what I was saying. "Really?" I reached up and touched his face, my palm against his jaw, feeling the slight stubble there. "Dylan, I'm completely gone on you. I have been since probably the first week we lived together. Maybe even before that. When we met at orientation and you helped me carry my boxes up 3 flights of stairs." He laughed. This breathless, relieved sound. And then his hands were on my face too, cradling my jaw, his thumbs stroking across my cheekbones. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. "Please tell me I can kiss you." "Yes," I said. And then his lips were on mine and everything else fell away. Kissing Dylan was like coming home. It was soft and sweet at first, tentative, both of us learning the shape and taste of each other. But then it deepened, became more urgent, and I found myself pressed against him, my hands in his hair now, his arms wrapped tight around my waist. He kissed like he did everything else, with focus and attention and care, and I felt it all the way down to my toes. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "I've wanted to do that for so long," he said. "Me too." I kissed him again, quick and light. "So what now?" "Now," he said, smiling against my lips, "I keep braiding your hair and you keep letting me. Except now, I also get to do this." He kissed me again, deeper this time. And this. Another kiss. "And maybe we go on actual dates instead of just hanging out in our apartment." "I'd like that," I said, though I also really like just hanging out in our apartment with you. "Me too." He pulled me closer until I was practically in his lap and wrapped his arms around me. "This is okay, right? This doesn't feel too fast?" "It feels perfect," I said honestly. "It feels like it's been building to this for months. Maybe it has been." We stayed up talking until 3 a.m, kissing between conversations, learning how to be this new version of ourselves together. At some point we moved to the couch, and I ended up with my head in his lap while he played with my hair, running his fingers through it over and over, like he couldn't stop touching it. "I'm going to braid it every day, if you'll let me," he said sleepily. "I'll let you," I promised, and I meant it. Not just about the hair, but about all of it. About letting him close. About being vulnerable. About taking this chance on something real and scary and beautiful. The next morning I woke up in my own bed, which was responsible of us, but Dylan was there too, sitting on the edge of my mattress with a cup of coffee in each hand. "Morning," he said, smiling at me with this soft, affectionate expression that made my chest feel warm. "I brought you coffee." "You're perfect," I said, taking the mug gratefully. "Not perfect, but I'm trying." He set his own mug on my nightstand and reached out to touch my hair, which was a tangled mess from sleeping. "This needs attention." "Are you going to make braiding my hair a daily thing?" I asked, amused. "Absolutely. It's my new favorite activity." He leaned down and kissed me, soft and sweet, tasting like coffee and promise. "Besides, I like taking care of you. Let me take care of you." And he did. Over the next few months, as fall turned to winter and winter to spring, Dylan took care of me in 100 small ways. He braided my hair almost every day, his fingers gentle and patient. He brought me coffee in the morning and made sure I ate when I got too focused on studying. He listened when I needed to talk and gave me space when I needed to think. He kissed me like I was precious and held me like I was home. I took care of him too. I learned that he liked his back scratched when he was stressed, and that he got quiet when he was upset and needed gentle coaxing to talk about his feelings. I discovered that he was ticklish on his ribs and that he made this soft, contented sound when I kissed his neck. I memorized the way he looked in the morning light and the sound of his laugh and the feeling of his hand in mine. We told our friends over winter break, nervous and excited, and they were universally supportive. "Finally," my best friend said. "We all thought you two were together already. The way you look at each other is kind of ridiculous." We told our families in the spring, over video calls that left us both shaky with relief when they went well. My mum cried happy tears and said she just wanted me to be loved. Dylan's sister said it was about time he found someone who appreciated his hair braiding skills. The semester ended and summer came, and we decided to stay in our apartment rather than going home. We got jobs near campus and spent our free time exploring the city, going on the dates Dylan had promised, learning each other in new ways. Sometimes we'd come home exhausted and collapse on the couch together, and Dylan would pull me close and run his fingers through my hair. And I'd think about how far we'd come from that first night when he'd braided it. "I love you," he said one evening in July, as we sat on our tiny balcony watching the sunset. His fingers were predictably in my hair, working through a simple braid. "I know we haven't been together that long, officially, but I feel like I've loved you for longer than that. Maybe since the beginning." "I love you too," I said, turning to look at him. His grey eyes were soft in the golden light, his expression open and honest. "Definitely, since the beginning." He finished the braid and tied it off, then cupped my face in his hands and kissed me slowly, thoroughly, like we had all the time in the world. And we did. We had this summer and the next school year and all the years after that. We had lazy mornings and late nights and every moment in between. We had each other. "Thank you," I said when we broke apart. "For what?" "For noticing my hair that first day, for asking to braid it, for being brave enough to tell me how you felt." I kissed him again. "For everything." "Thank you for letting me," he said simply, "for trusting me with this, with you. That's not a small thing." "No," I agreed, "it's not. But you make it easy." We stayed on the balcony until the stars came out, wrapped around each other, his fingers still absently playing with the end of my braid. And I thought about Whitman and his grass, about universal connection and how sometimes the most profound intimacy starts with the simplest touch. How sometimes love announces itself quietly, in the brush of fingers through hair, and the warmth of breath on your neck, and the courage to lean back into someone and trust they'll hold you steady. I never thought much about hair, until Dylan moved in. But now I think about it all the time. I think about the way his hands feel in it, and the way he looks at me when he's braiding it, and the way something as simple as hair became the bridge between friendship and love. I think about how lucky I am that he noticed it, that he asked, that he took the time to learn this skill, just to be close to me. And every time he sits behind me and gathers my hair in his hands, every time I feel his breath on my neck and his fingers against my scalp, I fall in love with him all over again.